Today I'm going to go over, on this YouTube video, I'm going to go over the Bandit rewards. And I basically just made this video before, but I did it without the visuals, and I want the visuals involved. So I'm going to redo the YouTube video I just did, which doesn't really matter to this video, but I figured I'd just say that, and in case anyone's watching. And yeah, so I want to go over that because it's something that's a little harder for newer players to grasp. It might not be an easy decision to choose which one you want to go with when you get to the Bandit rewards. And the Bandit rewards are just like a passive skill that you can gain from either killing one of the bandits or taking and killing them all. Not killing one, you either kill two and save one. So if you save a bandit, you end up getting their passive from that bandit. And I'll show you what I mean when I bring up the page, and it'll be a little easier to understand. So in order to get started, I'm gonna switch the display over so you can start seeing what I'm talking about here. This is what I forgot to do when I was going over all this before. And I brought up the page for the bandits. And basically once you get to Act 2, you have a choice to either save one of the three bandits, and then either that or kill them all, and you get a passive point. The passive point is something I normally always do because I play a lot of standard. It doesn't mean it's the choice that you should always make. If you play a hardcore league, or if you like the other benefits, there's still pretty good choices to make. I want to go over the couple of the choices that probably aren't the best, but I mean, if you still decide to take them, that, you know, I guess good luck with the points. But I just kind of wanted to go over and show you things that you might not realize at first. So here we are in the PoE wiki, and this is a pretty reliable source for the most part. There isn't really many sources on the internet that have a bunch of information like this site. That being, it's not always reliable, so don't always, take everything you see. Just take everything with a grain of salt. When you see it, just don't live and die by whatever it says on here. Just try to figure out from other sources as well. For the most part, though, it's pretty reliable. And so here's the bandit rewards. And the thing is when you get to Act 2 and you decide to either save one of these bandits or kill them all and get a passive point, there's some choices to be made. The passive point's a pretty good choice if your tree has a lot of points that you want to put into it, and it's like you want to grab a bunch of things, and it's kind of hard for you to grab all those things without extra points. The point might actually be a really good thing for you. If you're a life-based build, the 40 base life is always a really good call. It's a very popular choice among the hardcore players, and it adds up really quick because all your other pieces of gear, they'll have health on them. So it's like that 40 life ends up being 120 life later on, and 120 life might not sound like a lot, but everything adds up. It's like almost having another piece of gear that has life on it. So I mean, and if that point was on the tree and you were going by it, it's probably a point that you probably wouldn't miss. You wouldn't pass that point, so you'd probably still grab that. And it's a good just a good thing to keep in mind. The mana one isn't as good, but maybe some mana intensive builds would grab it. You can either Eldritch Battery builds would be pretty good with it because they need a lot of mana in order to sustain Arctic Armor, or if they want to run a lot of auras. It's not a terrible point. It's not always the best point, but it's still a pretty good point. The one that you should stay away from, though, is the 8% to all resist point. The reason being is because these two other points, these are things that are harder to get on the tree. Like this much life on the tree on one node is harder to get, or this much mana on one node is harder to get. But this is kind of available almost everywhere around the tree, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So the only two classes that's a little harder for is the Witch and the Ranger. Otherwise, the other classes have these nodes readily accessible to them. And what I mean by that is, if you come down here to the Duelist, where he starts off, after he gets through, you know, his main part of his tree, if you come down through here, through the regen, you'll come to this point called Diamond Flesh. And that's 12% to all resist. That's already way better than the Caitlyn reward. So, I mean, if you really want that all resist, you might as well just take that skill point and put it into that. If you're going to be a Marauder, it's right in his main tree. You grab Diamond Skin. It's 2% extra, and you get 1% to all your maximum. And that maximum is actually a really big deal. It provides a lot more than you think as far as damage reduction. Makes your character super durable as long as you can cap that resist. So that's another good note to keep in mind. The Templar, his options are for all resists are huge. Like, he has so many options. So if he wants to go damage right away, he gets all this elemental damage, and then right away 12% to all resist, 12% to elemental damage. That's really big if you're going like for all resist and damage. If you go through his main tree, eventually you'll come upon this, which is Faith and Steel. 20% to armor, 16% to energy shield, 8% to all resist, which is a lot better than that other node too. So like just these two are way more value than the 8% to all. And then when you come around this ring right here, it's the same thing. Sorry for my bird. He's just really mad right now. But so if he gets you a little distracted, don't mind him. He's just the bird Pidgey. And then yeah, so you have another node here. And then it gets a little, oh yeah, and then not only that, if you really want more resist and you use the shield, I didn't go over this before, but I'm going to go over it now. There's these two nodes, which is still, if you're using a shield, that's still 2% better than the Caitlyn reward. And there's two of them right next to each other, so that extra point could allow you to grab that. For the Witch, it's a little harder. She doesn't have a lot of all resist over here. The only one that she really has over here is this one, and I'm pretty sure, yeah, so, and that one's not really a good grab, but even then I probably still wouldn't even grab the Caitlyn rewarded normal, because she has these kind of near her, and she could use these if she really wanted to. They're not always the best, and I wouldn't put 1 point into each of them to get that. I'd only go with the element I'm going with, and otherwise I probably wouldn't come from under it. I'd always come from the top down, and that's only if I'm going that direction towards the Templar. So I don't know as far as the Witch, but I still wouldn't grab it with Caitlyn. The Shadow actually has these two right here, and these are a lot like the Templar rings, except instead of armor it's evasion. And so you get a lot of evasion and a lot of all resist just from those two. So I mean, another reason why it's not good. He has another one right here. I probably wouldn't grab that. The Ranger, it's a little harder for her. There isn't a lot of spots by her that have all resist, but a lot of times wherever she ends up going, like if she's going an evasion build, she's going up here, and so she can grab these. If she's going an armored build, she's coming down here and grabbing these. So I mean, the Ranger isn't as bad. And not only that, like if you come through here for some reason by the Scion, like if there's something in here you're grabbing, or if you're just like a witch and you're coming down here to grab Iron Reflexes, and coming through here. Grabbing this note's really good too. It's 24 to evasion and armor, and then 10 to all resist. So it's still another really good node. So that's why getting that 8% to all elemental resist probably isn't the best call. Otherwise, when you get to Cruel, you have another 3 choices to pick out. One's 18% to physical damage, one's 4% to cast speed, and one's 8% to attack speed. And it correlates to the names right under them. So the only one I wouldn't ever pick out of these 4 right here is the cast speed. The reason being is if you're going to be a caster, you have cast speed really accessible to you. So the Templar, he comes up through the damage area and he ends up hitting 6% cast speed. Really good node, and that's already way better than the 4% cast speed. The Witch, right away, she gets those just as regular nodes. So, and same with the Shadow. He just gets those as regular nodes. The Scion, even if you go as a caster as Scion, hers aren't as good, but they're still, pretty good. And if you're gonna use more like if you're gonna get this, like you might as well just get the extra passive point, because then you would be able to put, so like if you got that extra passive point, you put one there, so yeah, it's just something to think about. And not only that, she also gets this one right here, another cast speed. So getting cast speed from the Bandits isn't the best call. These 2 are pretty good. The 8% attack speed and 18% physical damage. The 18% physical damage is really good if you need the physical damage. Like if you're going EK, like this is a really good point to grab. Or if you're a build that you need just percent physical damage, but you're not necessarily using a weapon for it, this is a really good node. And even if you are using a weapon, and as long as it's physical damage, this is still a good node, because I mean, if you go by this on the tree, you'd put a point in that. The same thing with the attack speed. I mean, it's not as good as the 18% physical. There's bigger attack speed points on the tree, but it's still much bigger than like some of the normal attack speed points you might run across. And like just for instance, like the Scion gets these 3% attack speeds, and then there's 3% here. So I mean, that's what I mean. It's like there's only a couple nodes that are the same, and even when it's just like 1, like after that, like they go back down to 3. And same thing with the Shadow. His is only 6. So and attack speed can be really good to stack. So even if you get that other 8%, getting this one too probably wouldn't be that bad. And then the passive skill point, it's just goes the same way. If you're really like condensed on your tree and you're really hard on points, it might be better for you to grab the skill point. Then when we get to Merciless, I probably, as a newer player, wouldn't worry about any of these and just grab the skill point. But if you're more of an experienced player, or you're kind of just wondering how to get extra things out of your character, these charges are really good for defense, for crit strike chance, and for attack speed. Or if you end up using other ways of utilizing them, you might want these. So the endurance charge gives you all resistant armor for each charge that's around you. The power charge gives you crit strike chance for each charge around you. The frenzy charge gives you cast speed and attack speed for each charge around you. So, but you want to make sure that you can produce these charges. These aren't just things that just happen. So you want to make sure you have a way of readily actually producing them before you even think about grabbing any of these. You don't want to just grab one of these just because, unless like you're in a party and your party has conduit and they can feed everyone charges, and then maybe you could think about grabbing one of those. Otherwise, you want to make sure you can produce all these by yourself before you even think about grabbing one. And you don't have to produce all of them at once. I'm just saying, like, if you're grabbing this +1 to max endurance charge, make sure that you can make endurance charges. So it's just something to think about. And then if you decide you want to respec out of these points, you can take and get a book reform for each of the bandits, and cost 20 regrets, and then an amulet of that basically person's area of work. So like Kraitlin's Dex, Oka's Strength, Alira's and he's all attributes because he's giving you a passive point. And then make sure when you get these books, you have to be in the difficulty that you want to change. So if you're normal and you want to change the normal difficulty, make sure you vendor this in the normal difficulty, and then that's how you change it from there. And when you take and consume the book gives you the change. So it isn't like you're respecking and specking back into something just by using the book. So make sure you get the right book too for what you want. So yeah, it's just something to think about and go over. And if you want any of this information, I'll probably put it on the YouTube video. I'll just put this link right into the YouTube video information area. So if you enjoyed this and you want more information about Path of Exile and you're just curious about the game, you can always come to my Twitch TV. I usually stream every night. Otherwise, my YouTube video always will be having more and more content as I continue to do this. So it's always good to check back to the YouTube. And otherwise, if you go to my Twitch, it has a bunch of information at the bottom for Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. So there's all kinds of different ways you can grab all this information. A lot of this will be in the highlights area too in Twitch, so if you don't want to go to YouTube to watch it, you don't have to. You can watch it here too. So that being, thank you for watching this YouTube video, and thank you for your time.